patients and trauma care patients to the closest hospital. That was in the contract for liability purposes. Everyone was worried about changing that. And that's the same at the time throughout the state of California. We went and made our arguments to the county board of supervisors to make that change, and they were the first county in the state to change that system where it wasn't the closest hospital that a stroke victim would go to, but the closest certified stroke center. At that time, we had two, by the way, Good Sam and Stanford. As soon as that redirection went into place, we got 7. Every hospital put it into place. So I feel very good about that. We went to bat again last year to get redirection to comprehensive stroke centers, which was a major issue. A lot of discussion about that. But in late 2016, the Board of Supervisors approved that now. So if a patient using, I think it's called the BFAST screening system, is beyond the 3-hour time period or the 3.5-hour time period where TPA can really be used by primary certified stroke centers, that the ambulance system will now take those patients to the comprehensive, the 3 and now almost 4 that are there, and I'm thinking we're going to have a 5th one here pretty soon as well. So we have 2 redirection systems going on right now, one for primary and one for comprehensive, and we're very excited about that. The one for comprehensive was put in place in April of this year, so it's relatively new. Our outreach program, what I'd like to talk to you about, that's the third area. We've spent over $2.5 million through our foundation on outreach. We've tried everything to alert people to the signs of stroke and what to do in the event of stroke. We've had full-page ads in the newspapers. We've had the backs of buses. We've had trailers in movies. We've tried speeches of all kinds. We do newsletters, on and on. We've done this over the years, and we've had some pretty good results. But now we have the ultimate in determining results. 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we created a stroke app. And this stroke app to us was the very important next step for our foundation. This stroke app was voted one of the 10 best medical apps in the country last year. We're very, very proud of that, and it's very simple and it's free. What we did with the stroke app, here it is. We just upgraded it about 2 months ago. It does 4 things. The first is it shows the signs of stroke. We got this thing here. This button right here, when it's called up, shows the signs of stroke. This button right here shows the nearest stroke centers, certified centers, anywhere in the United States. I don't care if you're in Sacramento. I mean, I pull it up in mine right now, and I can see that you have a number of stroke centers, obviously here, but it gives them. There's probably 15 or 20 of them, but it's got a map. It's got how far away the stroke centers are from where you're located, so it's easy to find where to go. And if you're in New York, Biloxi, Mississippi, if you're in Chicago, in Sturgis, which I'm a Harley guy, you can find the closest stroke center to where you are if you're having a stroke. The second one here, or the third one here, is emergency contacts. This one is really important because if a person is having a stroke or sees somebody that's having one and they need to get the 911 easily and quickly, that's what this button is right here, and it goes right to 911. The minute that button is hit, all the emergency contacts that are here are alerted to the fact that you're having a stroke. One of my board members tried it the other day, and his wife and 2 children called him within 5 minutes to find out if he was really having a stroke. Forgot to tell him that he was really. They were very concerned about it, so we know it works. So, we've got 911, we've got the signs of stroke, we've got the closest certified stroke centers, and we have the contacts with the local, with your closest relatives or significant others or whatever. And I have left a card on each of your tables and a sheet that will describe this app. Please download this app. It's free. It's right through our foundation. And I'm going to tell you two stories in a second where it's personal stories amongst others that have made this a big difference in their lives. So please download this app. It could prove the difference. In the way I'm standing here and the way I might have stood here if all those people had done basically the same thing that this app is doing. Now, when we did all this, and why our outreach program now has become so focused is because with this, with this app, we have been able to see what we do, where it's most effective in getting it downloaded. Interestingly enough, the movies were not much. The VTA, which is the back of the buses, we should spend about $35,000 a year on that, not much. Newsletters, some. Facebook is getting bigger for us. The SJMN is the San Jose Mercury News. We do full-page ads about 6 times a year, and they result in significant downloads. The talks like I'm giving right now, and events we have usually 1 or 2 big events every year, and these things really do make a difference in getting this app downloaded. And as the app is going up, they say we just put it into place. We got both on the Android and the middle one is Apple, and our goal is 100,000 in our county, and we're going to get there. This is the result of the work that we feel that we have done in Santa Clara County. When we started, the use of TPA was about 1.5 to 1.8%. That's all, 1.5 to 1.8. I think that was pretty close to the national average. One of the ways we follow with the statistics is what the TPA usage is in our county today, and this is all generated by Santa Clara County. We're up to 18%. Many hospitals are at 22 to 24%. This is a dramatic increase, and we feel very good that this is helping stroke victims in our community, and we're proud of the fact that I think all the things we've worked on, and they're not major things, they're just common sense things, have really helped us out. So the stroke app is our major focus in getting it in as many people's hands as possible, and it's good here in Sacramento as it is good in Santa Clara County. And JCO updates semi-annually every certified stroke center that is added or dropped in the system. And so we know it's relatively current anywhere in the United States. So I guess, kind of in conclusion, I really, again, appreciate being able to tell you what we have done in Santa Clara County and where we think we've made a difference as a private organization. We're not big. We have an executive director and 6 board members, but they're all active and doing things, and they are making a difference. And 2 quick stories that I'll tell you. One is a very good friend of mine, a prominent attorney in San Jose, was having a stroke in his golf club in Pebble Beach about a year and a half ago. He couldn't reach for the button to hit 911. He was having breakfast by himself there, but he knew the signs of stroke, which I didn't know. And to get attention, he pushed off coffee cups off the table, and of course people came running to find out what was going on. But he knew where he had to go, and he told them as best he could where he wanted to go. Within 15 minutes, he was at that hospital, and today he's back running his law practice as if this had never happened, although he will never forget it either. The other one, which is my favorite, is more current. A prominent developer, friend of mine, was down in Palm Springs about 8 weeks ago, and he had a massive hemorrhagic stroke. Yeah, it was really a bad one. And his wife recognized it immediately, called 911. They got him into the ambulance. They put him in, she got in, and she asked the driver of the ambulance, "Where are we taking my husband?" He said, "We're taking him to, as we have had in many other places, to the closest hospital." She said, "Is it a certified stroke center?" He said, "No." She said, "I want to take him to a certified stroke center." He said, "It's 2 hospitals away. Who's going to pay for this?" She says, I guess she's a very fiery lady, but she said, "If you don't want to feel my hands around your neck for 2 minutes, we'll take him to," and it turned out to be Eisenhower. They saved his life down there. That saved his life. He's struggling with the results of it, but he is alive, and he'll probably get back to reasonable normality at some point in time. So I know these things are working, and I'm very proud of that fact. And I hope something I've said here today will help here in improving the stroke outcomes for stroke victims in Sacramento County and anywhere else you might be from. So please download the app. Please have your families download the app. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to make this presentation.
We probably have a few minutes. Chuck, you came all the way up, and I think we owe Chuck any questions you might have, maybe one or two questions. I know we're tight for time, but this is really...
Chuck, my name's Mick Smith. I'm with American Heart, American Stroke Association. The app looks really, really great. One quick question, does it just have Joint Commission stroke centers on it? Is there other entities like DNV or I know there's other accrediting or certifying bodies? Is that just Joint Commission or?
It's just a Joint Commission.
Okay.
And we have a contract with them to supply the information as we go along. I mean, there may be others, as I say, we just upgraded this app and made it a lot easier to use from the basic original one we did. But that's the basis of the location. Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you again, Chuck.
You.
This is great. Obviously, that was really excellent. We really appreciate taking the time to come all the way up to Santa Valley. My name is Jose Alberto Arevalo. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for Sutter Independent Physicians and also one of the co-directors here, and actually started with Patty here in Sacramento because this actually started in San Diego, and we want to thank Hattie for helping us bring it up here. And again, this is great that we have this kind of interest and activity, because the idea, of course, this is a collaborative, and it's about all of us sharing and bringing best practices and working together to improve cardiovascular health in our Sacramento-wide area. So thank you all for being here as well, and also we want to thank my co-director, Betsy Thompson, for her leadership as well. So I wanted to move along. We have a very tight schedule, and remind you that just in case you didn't really realize, we're actually going a little beyond the 2 o'clock time period, because this is such an important agenda, and remind you that we're actually ending at 2:30 today. So I want to move quickly to our next really excellent presentation, and it's really around new statewide stroke regulations and an update on Sacramento EMT. And so I'm going to introduce our three presenters, all three of you, and then if you don't mind, if you could just move along. But first, Dan Smiley, who is really going to start out with our discussion. And Dan is the acting director of the State of California Emergency Medical Services Agency. His leadership has been instrumental since 1989 in moving us, improving the emergency medical services throughout the state. And he's responsible for the strategic vision and leadership of EMS. And after Dan is going to be Dr. Hernando Garzon, who is currently our Sacramento EMS medical director, and he's been in that role since 2008. And he's also with Kaiser Permanente and has been there since 1992 and has done some marvelous work around emergency services. And then following Dr. Garzon is David Magnino, who is emergency medical technician, and he's also currently the administrator for our area, and has been doing this since May of 2005, and he's got a long career in emergency medical services, including being an instructor in the California Highway Patrol, and is bringing us some recent our new updates for this region. So I'll start out with Dan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here. From the state perspective, and let me just tell you, although I have been the acting director 4 times since I came to work for the EMS Authority, my general role is Chief Deputy Director, and right now we have a director in place, Dr. Howard Backer. So on behalf of Dr. Backer, like to thank you for your interest in what we do at the state. So what the Emergency Medical Services Authority is we're one of the 12 departments within the Health and Human Services Agency. And our responsibility is really for the statewide coordination of emergency medical services by establishing a coordinated response system, working with our local EMS agency partners. In California, we have a two-tiered regulatory structure. One is certainly the state. We provide, with a small central staff here in Sacramento, we work on regulations, guidelines, and disaster medical response activities, and also licensed paramedics. But we work locally with 33 local EMS agencies. Some are single county and others are multi-county EMS agencies. In Sacramento, you happen to have a single county local EMS agency that you'll hear from Dr. Garzone and Dave Magnino a little bit later about how they work with the EMS authority and at the local level to achieve a coordinated EMS system. So within the state, let me just give you a little snapshot on what we've got going. We've got about 60,000 EMT1s, 22,000 paramedics that work in about 3,600 ambulances throughout the state. There's over, in terms of first responders, there's over 100,000 fire agencies, as an example, that respond to calls as part of a normal first responder network. We respond overall to about 4 million emergency calls per year, of which about 3 million are transported. And they're transported to 310 hospitals, emergency departments with a basic ED permit or higher. And of those 310 hospitals, 83 of them are trauma centers. About 140 or so are heart attack centers or STEMI centers. And based upon what we just heard, there are about 172 hospitals in the state that have some level of Joint Commission certification as a stroke center. 14 are comprehensive centers, 156 are primary centers, and 2 are acute stroke-ready hospitals. So with that context in mind, one of our goals at the state has been to create standardization for stroke care. And it's very much the same way to what we do with trauma centers, which is we have a trauma system that identifies trauma victims in the pre-hospital care setting, triages them to the appropriate hospital, which has been designated by the local EMS agency. So we have been in the process for over 5 years now of creating stroke regulations to create that sort of standardization within the state of California. Right now, about 2/3 of the 33 local EMS agencies have established stroke systems within their local jurisdiction. But what our goal is, of course, is 100%. We want every EMS agency to have that sort of structure in place. So what we have in front of us now is a set of stroke regulations that we will be taking to the State EMS Commission on June 21st here in Sacramento for approval. For those of you that don't know, the State EMS Commission is an 18-member body that is specifically statutorily charged with approval of regulations and guidelines and providing advice to the State Department, the Emergency Medical Services Authority. That 18-member body is made up of 12 governor's appointees, 3 assembly appointees, and 3 Senate appointees. So essentially, this is a critical next step for us in getting these regulations approved. So what do the regulations look like? Well, they look pretty much like what you would think they would be as it relates to stroke systems. It focuses on the use of local EMS agencies as the coordinating body for response and the creation of a local stroke critical care system. The local EMS agency is charged with creating a stroke plan, identifying what sort of pre-hospital care protocols, procedures, assessment, and destination to the appropriate location where a patient can receive stroke care. They're also responsible for the designation of stroke centers. And that specifically guides the paramedics to have an understanding of, during the transport phase, what the exact location should be, so they can get exactly to the right hospital, whether it's a comprehensive, primary, or acute-ready hospital within the state. And of course, this is going to depend upon geography. Not every local EMS agency is going to be required to create a stroke system, because stroke systems will still be optional. But we believe that in terms of standards of practice, we believe that probably most local EMS agencies will migrate in that direction, as 2/3 of them already have. The three particular categories that are defined in the stroke regs are consistent with the Joint Commission assessment process: comprehensive, primary, and then acute stroke ready. We have utilized the information that we have from both Joint Commission, Heart Association, Stroke Association, to really help define what some of those guidelines are. But we also understand that there needs to be flexibility at the local level to achieve that sort of stroke designation as necessary, because as you know, there are some other deeming authorities that could also allow for some sort of stroke designation. So what we have in place is that sort of flexibility for the local EMS agency to create that system and to define how they're going to create that local stroke system based upon local resources. As you may know, there's also a controversy. So in our last draft, there is a controversy about, well, there may be a new category in the future, and you probably have heard this, that the primary stroke centers, there may be something like a primary stroke center that is thrombectomy capable, right? So how did EMSA deal with that in this latest stroke set of regulations? What we did recognize is that local EMS agencies may identify hospitals that have that additional capability and may preferentially triage patients to those particular centers if necessary, based upon the local needs and the local resources. As you may know, we have had a set of core measures related to stroke systems for the last 5 years. Scene time, measurement of scene time, measurement of glucose administration, direct transport to a trauma center. We're going to be adding on advanced notification of hospitals so that we can make sure that hospitals get notified in advance of an incoming patient, utilizing, according to the regulations, a validated pre-hospital stroke scoring mechanism. So this is all part of a revamping of our data collection system that occurred, or that has been occurring over the last several years. Specifically, one of the things that I think our new data system, what we call the National EMS Information System Standards, will allow is greater data collection in that pre-hospital care setting, using standards that are accepted statewide. Additionally, what we are doing as part of the stroke regulations is requiring hospitals that are participants is to utilize the Get With The Guidelines and Paul Coverdell stroke data standards, so that we can create a statewide stroke registry, so that we can then apply certain metrics and quality improvement mechanisms to be more transparent about what stroke care looks like around the state. So these are some of the things that are all built into the stroke regulations at this point. On the horizon, I think the stroke registry will be important. We certainly want to automate things, so one of the initiatives that we have statewide going on is greater use of electronic health records in the pre-hospital care setting and greater interoperability with hospitals. So that's one of our goals, is to create greater health information exchange, the electronic movement of patient information for real-time use in the pre-hospital care setting, to have an understanding of what the past medical history, problem list, medications, allergies are, and have that be able to be delivered to the paramedics so they have better information with which to make greater or better clinical decisions, and also to move that information to the hospital in the form of a dashboard to the emergency department so that all of the incoming information can be readily available to the receiving emergency department, and they can activate a stroke team in advance if necessary. So these are all part of what we're trying to do. Ultimately, the greater use of health information exchange will lead to better outcome measurement, we think, and in an automated way create a better longitudinal patient record so that we can begin to really examine population health within the community. So these are some of the things that we're working on at the state level. So that's kind of a snapshot. Again, I think that statewide we're on a great pathway. We're looking forward to getting the regs passed and getting them implemented and working with our local EMS agency partners to implement this statewide at the local level.
I have one question for you,
Oh,
Dan,
yes.
before you step away. The piece of work that Chuck did related to bypassing certain hospitals to get to the appropriate hospital, how is that addressed in the regulations? And secondly, where you have very congested traffic situations and you need to get someone to care quickly to get the antithrombotic, to get the appropriate medication, what are you doing on that front? Is there anything going on with Life Flight or?
So the way this is generally handled is at the local EMS agency level, because we have urban areas, we've got rural areas, we've got mixes of rural and urban. So every system seems to be different. But the way the statute is built is that the local EMS agency medical director has responsibility for patient destination decisions. So via protocol, the way that's going to be managed is the local EMS agency medical director, as informed by their local designation process and their local protocols, will determine, based upon the resources they have available, what that appropriate destination should be. So that if the comprehensive center is the right place to go right off the bat, then that's where they go. If the primary stroke center, they'll make the determination and provide that direction to the local EMS agencies. You know, with respect to your second issue on traffic congestion, you know, I think that certainly air transport may be available in some areas, but I also have to say that in some urban areas, it's impractical. So that's going to have to be built upon what the local needs are at that local level. We don't have a one-size-fits-all answer on that particular one, but our goal ultimately is to get the right patient to the right place at the right time. And that's, I think, what these regulations will allow us to do.
Dan, can I add a comment to your
absolutely.
comments? I'll say, in my remarks, I'll say something that addresses your first question a little bit, but to add to the second question that you're saying, EMS deals with this all the time because it's not just stroke patients that need to get somewhere quickly, heart attack patients, major trauma patients. So the EMS systems are set up to deal with that as best as possible. The reality of air transport is by the time you call it, you dispatch the ambulance, the helicopter, you find a landing pad, it sometimes is frequently actually more time efficient to actually go a longer transport by ambulance or weave through traffic and get someone to clear it than it is to actually get a helicopter there. But this getting that time-sensitive response is something that we deal with in EMS all the time. And actually, one of our protocols are built, most EMS agencies are, if it's a trauma center we need to go to, like our language has time closest to trauma center. Because the reality is, right, traffic being what it is, you may actually get to the center that's 2 miles further away, geographically more quickly, if you have surface traffic or other kinds of problems, construction or something, that would slow you down to get to the physically closest trauma center. And paramedics know this and they think about it all the time.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, my name is Dave Magino, and I'm the EMS administrator for Sacramento County EMS Agency, and we are, my agency is housed under the county's Department of Health and Human Services. And I've taken this role, I started in this position in 2014. I was hired by the county and then I took over as the EMS administrator in 2015. And so that was after 30 years of